All right, this one gonna be about my man from DC, man, my man Dion Holmes. I know y'all, get tired of me talking about DC, but there's so much of them in the system and they so official, just like, California, the Crips, the Bloods, the GDs, the Vice Lords, the Black Gorilla family, the Latin Kings. I mean, we got thorough people in the joint. Sit back, enjoy the ride. I'm gonna tell you how a man lost his date going home in 2 weeks. All right? All right, you know what it is. Unique Mecca audio, man. I'm gonna tell you about my man Dion Holmes. You know what I mean? From DC, good brother. He got a brother that box named Keith Holmes. If y'all in the boxing, y'all know about Keith Holmes. I'm telling y'all about somebody that y'all at least heard about now, because I bring a lot of characters that you don't know. Dion a good dude. Dion used to paint pictures. Let me show you some of the pictures that he painted for me so you can see how much of a good artist Dion is. Now, check. I still have I even put these in frames. Dion painted this picture of Elijah Muhammad. You know what I mean? Look at the intricate detail. This is a hand sketch. Dion did that. You know what I mean? Now, I'm going to show you another joint that Dion did. I want you to see the talent that this brother has. Dion did this also. Dion did this also. I used to support the brother's hustle the same way I do on the street. So he used to paint. So whenever he had free time, he'd come to me because he charged a lot of money. You know what I mean? Because he was a professional. I mean, he might charge a G 1,500 to get a picture drawn, but he'll come to me and be like, yo, I just got these new paints. I got these new pastels I want to try out, and I ain't got nothing to draw. You got a picture you want me to draw? So I gave him pictures of my family and kids and all that, but I don't really want to show that right now. But, Dion was a good dude. He stayed up all night in the cell painting, all night. Yeah, there was another dude that painted good, and they both considered themselves the best artists in the BOP. One of them even changed his name to Picasso. His name was Guy Williams. He originally from Brooklyn, caught his case from in New York because he moved down to Charlotte and was driving up allegedly with an army truck. He was in the army and was selling M16 guns, in Brooklyn. That's what he was locked up for, allegedly. Now, Picasso, he came up to show you how intricate these minds is in prison. Picasso came up with this joint where it was a sleeve that you put on your sleeve, and then it had holes in it to hold the brush. So when you painting, you could just hold it up like this and just grab a brush, paint, put the other one in, grab another one. This was his invention, because normally they gotta stop, look on the shelf, find the right brush, but he had it where it was on his wrist, and he just kept his wrist up on the joint, and he'd just pull a joint out, paint, put another one in, paint. And this kid was what they call ambidextrous. You know what I mean? I might be saying it wrong, so you rat bastards and trolls correct me. You know what I mean? So he used to paint with both hands. He used to paint with both hands. He could paint just as good with his right hand as he could with his left, and he was a righty. These are the type of people that we had in there. But anyway, let me ride back to Dion. Now, we're in Allenwood, you know what I mean? And this is about 2000, 1990, about 2000, because I got there in 99. So in 2000, we in Allenwood, and it was this big dude out of Virginia, an older dude. He was about 65 years old. He was about 6'8", and about 320 pounds. But he was an older man, but real cool, real quiet, didn't talk to a lot of people. Every time they called a move, he came out the unit, stood up in front of the unit, and drunk his cup of coffee, you know what I mean? And just chilled out and enjoyed, the fresh air, because we was always in the building. So now they had what they call inventory, right? Inventory. Inventory is, when they shut the store down to take inventory for a 2-week period. So you buy, if you normally would drink 5 bags of coffee in 2 weeks, you'll buy 10 bags, you know what I mean? To make sure you had enough in case of lockdown, because people going to ask you for some and you might want to, overindulge in whatever zooms and whams on coffee you get or whatever. So that's what was going on. So Dion and this dude was real cool where they both shared, their coffee with each other. Like Dion would get up in the morning and tell the old head, yo, VA, let me get a shot of coffee, shot of mud, they called it mud, because they like it black. So let me get a shot of mud. So when he tell him get a shot of mud, the old head give him a cup, and then the old head might get up one morning, and don't have nothing, this is before the lockdown. So, bounce around and ride with me, ride with me. So he'll go to him and say, yo, Dion, let me get a shot of mud. Dion was glad to give him a shot. So they always worked with each other. But now Dion was getting ready to go home. I think he already served like maybe 10 years, 11 years off of a 12-year sentence, if I'm not mistaken. Dion was getting ready to go home, so he stayed up all night painting, and he must have painted about 5 pictures for me, in this period of time. He kept painting pictures because he couldn't sleep, so he stayed up all night drinking coffee and painting and drinking coffee and painting, and get up in the morning, walked around with the big painting and showed it to everybody, what he was working on to get his, flowers and his kudos. You know what I mean? 'Cause, everybody want to be proud of what they doing. So Dion just drunk coffee and the old man drunk coffee. So what happened now is Dion had 2 weeks to go home. He had 2 weeks to go home. Within this 2 weeks that he had to go home, they used to have inspection like once a week on Thursdays where, the administration, the warden, the AW, and everybody walk through the jail and they make sure their jail is being upkept. You know what I mean? So they go in every cell. They look at how much stuff you got in the cell to make sure that, as they call it, it's not a fire hazard. My cell was always considered a fire hazard because I had boxes and boxes and boxes of legal papers because I was always fighting my case for the whole 26 years I was locked up. So my transcripts alone for my trial was 3,500 pages for a 2-week trial, right? 3,500 pages. That's 3 big boxes like this, huge boxes. And then I had legal books and, personal books and law, I had everything, in this cell. And they always complain, because when you look under my bed, it had nothing but boxes. And they like for the bed to be clean with nothing under it except for 2 pair of sneakers and a pair of flip-flops. Maybe that's why I hate flip-flop wearing in public crowds. Nothing wrong with flip-flops, but not in public, gentlemen. Now, you females too, wearing those doggone bedroom slippers in public, you get a gunshot too. You know what I mean? Can't forget the females. Gunshot. Stop wearing those doggone slippers out there. If a car coming, you got to get out the way. Or if you pop slick to somebody and they go to smack you, you're going to come all about your bedroom slippers. So we don't want to do that. But Dion now, when it was coming through for this cleaning of the cell, for the inspection of the cell, that's what they call it, a weekly inspection. Dion took all his clothes because he was up all night painting and ran late and fell asleep. And then they came and the homies knocked on his door and said, yo, they getting ready to do the inspection. So he jumped up and he took all his dirty clothes and he pushed it in a pair of institutional pants and tied the leg and used the pants as a laundry bag because he was using his laundry bag to hold his painting supplies in. So he put all his stuff in the leg of this pants. So both of the legs of the pants were stuffed and he had that under the bed. They came through, they looked, and, for the inspection, they saw the pants under the bed and they had a fit. They went on some other time like, oh, man, you got this stuff under here, so that means that you are, what they call it, you're practicing stealing. You know what I mean? You're planning to escape is what they called it. You know what I mean? So they said that he was planning to escape. So they gave him escape paraphernalia for the clothes and the pants, and they locked him up, and he had 2 weeks to go. They took 28 days. So now he had 45 days left, So, he real angsty and he angry, and we all mad because we all went up to the lieutenant and the AW and the captain and the warden, the AW, the assistant warden. because y'all don't know what AW is. But, we went up to them, all the men from the different cars to speak for Dion and let him know, come on, man, that man wasn't trying to go nowhere. He going home in 2 weeks, Warden. Why would you even do that to him? And he's like, yeah, well, let it go through the process of the DHO and whatever happened from there, then I'll look at it. Nah, I told the warden, everybody agreed to it. I told the warden straight up, that's bull crap. Straight bull crap. You know what I mean? If you're going to do something you could do about it, do it now. You're the warden. You know what I mean? So all this, wait till it go to DHO. He shouldn't have to go to DHO because y'all know the man wasn't trying to, escape. The man just put his stuff in it for a laundry bag, man. You go in his room, you see he got the laundry bags with all his paint supplies that y'all allowed him to buy. And he kept them, secure because that was his pride and joy because he loved the paint. So bottom line is, I cussed the warden out, told, man, you full of crap. You trying to railroad my man. So I go back and I tell Dion, I said, man, we trying everything we can, man. Just hold it down. Just hold it down. So Dion like, yeah, man, but I can't believe they doing me like this, right? But it was only 28 days, When you're in prison doing life, you say only 28 days. But still, when you already did 11 years on a 12-year sentence and you're going home in 14 days and now they're telling you that you're not going home for another 45 days, you pissed off. You know what I mean? So that's where Dion was at. So now, we up in the joint, and it was a dude from the Virgin Islands named General. Big shout out and round of applause to General and Dion and the brother that lost his life, VA. All right, calm down, y'all, calm down. Relax, man, relax. Let me tell the story. So now we sitting there and, they got this locked down, So you got General. General used to always be with Dion, Virgin Islands dude. He ran the Virgin Islands call. He had one thick, long dread going down his back, and he had like half of his teeth was missing on one side. But he was an official dude, So first thing he said when he go back to Virgin Islands, he gonna get his teeth fixed. He didn't want the BOP to fix nothing for him. So, that was Dion's man. So now Dion get up one morning because we got the 2-week lockdown, of the store. So there's no commissary being sold. Dion been up drinking his coffee, giving the old man his coffee, drinking his coffee, giving the old man his coffee, and the old man giving him coffee too. You know what I mean? But now, after about a week, being that Dion was really stressing about losing the date of 14 days and now having 45 days. Y'all picture this. You youngins want to know what time it is. Y'all listen, man, because I don't want y'all to wind up in prison, man. That's my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Unique Mecca Audio. That's my Cash App. Make sure you hit the logo and it says it was created in 2020, not 2023, and there's no one in my last name. So now, Dion sitting there, and Dion get up in the morning and he go see dude, and they're in the same unit. So the old dude standing up outside. I walk by the old dude looking nervous, and he feeling guilty like he did something wrong. So I said, oh, hey, what's wrong? And he said, nah, Dion asked me for some coffee, but he been getting coffee from me 2-3 shots before he go in. He drink that during the night, then he get up in the morning, then he need another shot in the morning, then in the afternoon he need another shot, and all I got is a bag and a half left of Keefy. Keefy's the cheap bag. The cheap bag is coffee. They call it Keefy. Keefy's owned by Reagan and Bush's wife. I'm gonna have to give you the whole history on, Keefy and Reagan and Bush's wife. Like Reagan said when she went to the Just Say No rally, she said, I'm not here for the drugs. She said, I'm here for the drugs. You know what I mean? Meaning, which was a crazy statement to make because it's a just say no to drugs, and she's saying, I'm just here for the drugs. You know what I mean? And, so she came and she let it be known that, they was going to be starting their own food products in the prison, and they hooked up with Keefy, and, so you could only buy commissary from the commissary in the store. We used to be able to order from outside vendors, but now you had to buy it from within the store, and Reagan and Bush's wife owned it. So it was a cheap bag of coffee. I think it cost like $2.25 for a bag of coffee. So a bag and a half, that's $3.37. You know what I mean? So for $3.37, my man Dion goes to the old head and he tells the old head, hey, yo, can I get some coffee? And the old man said, yo, I don't really have it. He said, I don't have any. And he said, man, no, you got coffee. I was just in your room last night when you gave me the 3 shots. And he's like, yeah, but it's going to run out. We only got 2 more weeks before, they open up the store. It's been a week, so we got 1 more week left. A bag is not going to last me a week, a bag and a half. You know what I mean? So, no disrespect, but can you ask someone else because I'm trying to let my coffee last? This is what the old man told him, nice and polite. Just keeping it 100 because I don't want to pick sides, but I want y'all to understand how simple it is and how the mind of a man in prison doing decades work. So when he tells him that, Dion gets mad, So the old man telling me about it. Then I see Dion out there. I said, Dion, how my picture coming along? He said, man, I've been working on it all night, man. I'm pissed off. I don't want to talk right now. I said, what do you mean you want to talk right now? And I already knew what the situation is. I said, nah, what happened? And he said, nah, I need a shot of coffee. And dude ain't giving me a shot of coffee. I said, dude, he's not obligated to give you a cup of coffee. A shot. He said, nah, I always give him my coffee. You know what I mean? So he owed me, Joe. You know what I mean? This is Dion. So he owed me because I always give him. You know what I mean? Which he had a point, from, prison point of view. When a dude look out for you, you look out for them. It's called a bartering program, like I said, or like I said before, I use you for a cup of coffee, you use me for a cup of coffee, and it's a friendly use. You know what I mean? So now, Dion is telling me about this, and I'm telling Dion, man, calm down. I'm going to go get you some coffee from the store man in my unit. I go to my store man to go get some coffee, and my store man said, man, I already sold out all the coffee. There ain't no more coffee on the compound. All the coffee that's on the compound, all the drinkers have it, So I went to go try and buy a shot of coffee for Dion. And I couldn't even get him a shot of coffee to buy off the compound because nobody was even selling coffee. So that's why the old man didn't want to give up his coffee. So now I go back and I say, Dion, man, just fall back. And he's like, nah, kick that. And then they hit the move. So they go inside. When they go inside, the old man stand up watching TV. Dion pissed off. He walking back and forth. He's furious. I mean, he got smoke from him. So he walking back and forth behind the dude, and the big dude is drinking his coffee, and he's trying to look at the TV and ignore Dion, hoping that he just disappear, But Dion just kept walking by. He calling them all kinds of suckers, and, man, I'm going to do something to him, and whoop, whoop, whoop. And Dion in his body right now, and he building himself up. Everybody liked Dion and liked the dude, so nobody said nothing. But General was so cool with Dion that Dion went over telling General what happened, and Dion is telling him how he want to bring violence to dude. You know what I mean? So when he tell him that, the dude said, yeah, the Yankee boy, I play y'all. I'm not going to do that. Y'all always, I give them on coffee. I know my talk about them. No want to give y'all a shot of coffee. Move him, Buck Clyde. So Dion said, man, give me the thing, man. Give me the thing. So, General allegedly gave him the knife. You know what I mean? So now, he gives him the knife. Old man stands up. Dion goes up behind him and stabs him in his neck. Boom. Dude hits the ground. Pass out. Bled out. Died right there from Dion stabbing him, So they come, they lock up Dion, they lock up the dude, they run the camera back, and they saw old General give him the knife. You know what I mean? Passed him a knife. So they locked General up too. Dion was going home in 2 weeks, lost that and ran it up to 45 days, and General was, and this was like about June, July, and General was going home in September of that same year, like 90 days. But now they got General locked up for accessory to murder for giving him this knife. Pay attention to this. Listen to this all the way to the end. Cash App on the screen. Make sure it says it was created in 2020. There's no one in my last name. So Dion, in the hole, dude in the hole, and they locked me up. You know what I mean? They locked me up like about 2 days after that. They locked me up because they was transferring me out to California. They said that I allegedly was selling too much heroin on the compound, and I was responsible for all the heroin on the compound. So now they talking about transferring me, so I'm in the hole. So I'm in the hole, and I go to the yard, and I see Dion out there. I said, Dion, what happened? And he said, man, I just couldn't take it no more, just too much pressure. They done took my date. My brother had this big fight, because his brother had a big fight in Vegas that everybody from D.C. and Baltimore went to in Vegas and all that, right? So he's like, man, it was just too much. They done took my date. I had to tell my mama and my people they took my date, man. I was just frustrated. I'm always giving this man coffee, and now I ask him for some coffee, and he getting brand new on me. He don't want to give me none. Man, I can't take that, man. I'm not with that. You know what I mean? He said, man, I had to put the knife in him, you know? I said, but Dion, he's dead. You know, now you're looking at life in prison. And he's like, man, it's the principle of the thing, man. He violated me. I said, Dion, sometimes we have to leave the penitentiary principles aside and deal with man principles. Be a man and not a convict. And Dion was like, yeah, you're right, man, you know, because I like the old dude, man. I ain't mean to kill him, man, but, you know what I mean? I just got pissed off, you know? So that's how easy it is for somebody to lose their life, you know? So me and Dion talked in the joint, you know, he said, man, that last painting I was doing for you, send my property. When the property man come, I'm going to get him to go on my property, get the picture and put it in your property, you know. So the property man got the picture, bring it up, and the picture was dope, but it wasn't finished. Dion was so cool with the police. The police gave him the pictures, and he painted with pastels. So they gave him a big box of pastels with the multicolors, and he finished my picture up while we was in the shoe. They transferred me out to Lum Park, California. 2001. Stayed there till 2003, you know. Then they sent me to Coleman, Florida when they just opened up Coleman 1. It wasn't brand new because I'm not allowed to go no brand new joint because I done had the riot and the attempt stabbing on the 2 police. Everything they said I did, you know what I mean? But, you know, so after 45 days, they transfer me from Coleman to Lee County. I get to Lee County, do my thing. Then I wound up in Otisville, then Raybrook, and then they sends me out to Atwater because some shit happened at Raybrook. They was nervous and they thought that, you know, I had too much influence, so they sent me from New York jail all the way back out to California. So now I'm out in California in Atwater, and here comes Dion coming on the compound, because we talking about 2000. This was about 2005 now. Nah, it wasn't 2005. It was 2007. This was 2007. That happened about 99. Dion did his 5 years in ADX, because they sent Dion to ADX. Let me show you what Dion had to live like for 5 years, because I had to do the same thing. This is selling ADX. You know what I mean? Now, could you imagine staying in this room by yourself for 5 years, only coming out 1 hour a day? Now, you see that box in the back, you know what I mean? The box in the back, you know, let me see if I can point. Yeah, right over where my thumb is at, right? That box right there, that's the shower, because they got a shower in the cell, you know? So you stayed in here, you didn't even come out for a shower. Everything you had to do, you do in the cell. And you see under the bed, those slits, that's the bookshelves. That's where they created for your books to go. That little metal block, that's a stool to sit down on. You know what I mean? And right on that desk right there. Now the shelf right above, that's where they put a TV, because they give you a little 13-inch black and white TV. Now it's color to put on that shelf, so you lay in the bed and you can watch the TV, and they expect you to do 5 years like that and think they pacifying you with the TV, which it does make it a hell of a lot more easier with that TV in the cell. So that's how Dion was living. But now I'm in Atwater, California with Dion. And I see Dion, and he put on weight and all that. And Dion always had a big smile on his face. He was a real good dude. You know what I mean? Always happy about life. So I see Dion, and Dion still smiling. You know what I mean? So he all happy to see me, give me a hug, ask me how my people like the picture. I told him they love the picture, da-da-da-da. And he's telling me, say, man, they threw away all my art supplies. I ain't even got nothing to paint. You know, that's my life and joy. But he still walked around with a smile on his face. So now he's sitting there, and I asked him, I said, Dion, how do you sleep at night? Was it worth it? Because you and dude was cool. Y'all didn't even have a beef. He said, man, I think about it every night, man. If I could turn back the hands of time, man, I wouldn't even have did that. But I just let the pressures from the penitentiary get to me. You see how the pressures from the penitentiary could just take away a good man from using the hands of another good man? These 2 dudes was like this, and he killed him, put a knife in his neck because he wouldn't give him a shot of coffee. You know what I mean? And don't say nothing bad about my man, because he a good dude, man. Y'all don't know what it's like to be stuck in that environment and have to deal with all of those pressures, you know what I mean, from on the inside. So please don't judge my man, you know what I mean, by saying, it was stupid, it was this and that, because that's what the rat bastards and trolls would be quick to say. But you try, you know, doing that time and see how you make out. But anyway, so we in the joint, and, you know, Dion telling me and D, you know, Dion was Muslim. I forgot his Muslim name. We was both Muslim. We used to go to, Jumu'ah together, and, we did the month of Ramadan together, and, we prayed together. Dion, good dude all the way around, man. But he never let the new life sentence with no chance of parole for killing a good friend of his get him down. He never let that get him down. And that's when I knew that our people was strong mentally and emotionally. And let's not forget spiritually, because he still prayed 5 times a day and he did what he had to do. But that's the faithful tale of my man, Dion Holmes, Keith Holmes' brother, that was getting ready to go home in 14 days. They got him for escape paraphernalia for the clothes and the pants, and that just screwed him up and just pissed him off, and he just wanted to lash out. But instead of lashing out at the police, not encouraging it, he lashed out of, the closest person next to him. That's why they say most murders happen by a loved one, or a family member or a spouse. Because, it be angry. When someone stabs a guy 42 times, when a little female, 110 pounds, stabs her, stabs a man 92 times. You know how tired her arm must have got stabbing through 92 times and just kept going. That's a lot of backed up hatred, and anger within someone. And you try not to allow things to back up in you like that, but Dion learned the hard way. He's serving life in prison. He should have been home back in like 99, 2000. And here it was in 2007. And here it is now, 2023. And he's still locked up, and he should have been out in 1999. Call it 2000. 23, 24 years after his release date, he's still serving a life sentence with no chance of parole at the end. You youngins paying attention to this? Because you could be Dion, or you could be the old head that got stabbed for telling Dion no for something as simple as a cup of coffee. Make sure y'all share these videos. Share this video. Look at my other videos that I have up. I got over 200 videos with good life lessons and jewels in it. That's why I keep mentioning, my Instagram is on the screen. Let's not forget that. Follow me at Unique Mecca Audio. And my Cash App is on the screen. Make sure it says it's created 2020. Hit the logo, and there's no one in my last name. See, I plug everything in, because that's what we do, But come on, man. You know what I mean? Subscribe if you're not subscribed, is all I'm asking you. Definitely give me an emoji if you like the video. Subscribe, give me an emoji, and like the video. And definitely share the video. That's not asking too much, is it? And if you do have it, that's where the Cash App is on the screen. If you don't have it, not a problem. But just show your appreciation with at least an emoji, a like, and subscribe and share. That's all I'm asking. So let me tap out right now, because I love y'all, man. And I just want to tell the youth and the elders, prison ain't nothing nice. It's just another one of Unique Mecca Audio prison tales. All right?
Cheers. Toast the crime. Toast the crime. The crime. The crime. The crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca Audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be horn uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours. So we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them. And bless up to all the root men.